Niue lies in the South Pacific Ocean, west of the Cook Islands and east of Tonga. It is the smallest independent nation in the world, with a population of only 1,500 people, and is the world's largest raised coral island. It is commonly known as the Rock of Polynesia, locals calling it the Rock for short. Niue lies in the Pacific Triangle, with New Zealand 2,400 kilometres to the southwest, Samoa to the northwest, and the Cook Islands to the southeast. Niue was firstly settled between 400 and 1100 AD by Tongans and Samoans, the Tongans settling the southern half and the Samoans the northern half of the island. Much later, a smaller migration came from Puka Puka of the Cook Islands. The population peaked at 5,200 in 1966 and has dropped to its present level due to substantial emigration to New Zealand. Niue's land area is 260 square kilometres, about 100 square miles, and it's 11 hours behind Greenwich Mean Time, otherwise known as Universal Time, with the International Dateline just to the west. Its shores are very, very rugged, and there is evidence of the beginnings of a barrier reef. It's widely exposed to the Pacific Ocean's relentless crashing against the shoreline, and there is no natural harbour. Because of this, the government has constructed this huge dock whereby ships and the invariable stream of private visiting yachts can gain access to the island. Niue's history is vague, for the early Polynesians believed in the oral tradition, with legends passed down through the generations. The gods Huanaki and Fao, together with the fire gods, came from the mysterious faraway hidden land. It is thought that Niue has been inhabited for over 1,000 years, with two principal migrations, one from Samoa around 900 AD and another from Tonga in the 16th century. Niue's history falls into four well-defined periods: pre-Christianity, the missionary period, the colonial era, and now finally self-government. Captain James Cook recorded his sighting of Niue in 1774, and Cook made 3 different attempts to land on Niue, but was violently refused landing each time by the locals. He named the island Savage Island, for legend has it that the natives greeted him with teeth that appear to be painted with blood. He prudently decided not to push his welcome. A Niuean, Nukai Peniamina, was converted to Christianity while living in Samoa before returning to Niue. In 1846, Peniamina was credited with introducing Christianity to the island, and a decade later he, along with Samoan missionary Paulo, converted the majority of Niue's population. He is buried here in this small clearing north of Alofi. Self-government was established through a free association agreement between New Zealand and Niue on the 19th of October 1974. This agreement allows islanders to maintain what are called shared values. They receive ongoing budgetary assistance and to maintain their New Zealand citizenship and open access into and out of New Zealand. With a shrinking population, lack of employment and little tourism, aid from New Zealand is the mainstay of the economy. There is a great deal of poverty. In 1998, this concern was addressed by the Copenhagen Declaration Programme of Action and the United Nations Poverty Strategies initiatives. One can only hope that these actions will effect a change in the level of prosperity of the people of Niue. Evidence of the low standard of living could be seen everywhere that we went. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote his travel book in the South Seas while extensively sailing the South Pacific. In it, he writes about his arrival and his stay at Niue. Jack London also wrote of his adventures in the South Pacific. His book, The Cruise of the Snark, has this entry in Snark's logbook. The door still bore the tomahawk marks where the Malaitans at Langa Langa several months before broke in for the trove of rifles and ammunition locked therein, after bloodily slaughtering Jensen's predecessor, Captain Mackenzie. The burning of the vessel was somehow prevented by the black crew, but this was so unprecedented that the owner feared some complicity between them and the attacking party. The present skipper smilingly warned us that the same tribe still required 2 more heads from the Minota to square up for deaths on the Isabel plantation. The prominent international artist Mark Cross and his wife, a master weaver, live in Liku, the easternmost village of Niue. Niue is also the birthplace of New Zealand artist and writer John Pule, author of The Shark That Ate the Sun. Pule wrote of Niue, "My heart and my thoughts were always on Niue, but here I was, living in Aotearoa on someone else's land. I went back to Niue as often as I could, and I'd weed and clear the graves for my family and friends' families. It's a way of saying, I'm back." Pule co-wrote with writer and anthropologist Nicholas Thomas the book Hiapo, Past and Present in Niuean Barkcloth, which is a study of traditional Niuean art forms. Niue is the world's largest and grandest coral island. The terrain consists of steep limestone cliffs, and it takes the shape of 2 terraces along the coast, like that of a double layer cake, with a central plateau rising to about 70 meters above sea level, and the lower terrace being at 28 meters. The island's coral makeup creates an exciting, rugged coastline with a narrow coral reef surrounding the island. The only major break in the reef being on the central western coast, close to the capital at the village of Alofi. The sea relentlessly carves away at the coral-based island, burrowing caves and creating seascapes of limestone spires. Niue has evolved over the course of 1,000,000 years. Like many islands of the South Pacific, it began when an active volcano emerged from below the ocean. Slowly, over time, the volcano sank, masses of coral formed upon it, the sea levels rose and fell, and a coral island emerged. Relentless Pacific waves crashed into the limestone cliffs, and from this a remarkably shaped island has appeared. Agriculture is very important to the economy and lifestyle of Niueans, where nearly all the households have plantations of taro crops. Copra, passion fruit and limes were once the primary products for export, but more recently vanilla, noni and taro are Niue's main exports. The coconut crab, or uga, plays a large part in the local diet. They live both in the forest and in coastal areas. Niue has seen numerous cyclones, which are the hurricanes of the South Pacific, which have taught the population how to survive. Windows are battened down and securely shut, movable objects are stored away, antennas and anything else that may break are taken down out of harm's way. On this flat-topped island, people then prepare to hunker down in the most secure places, to let the storm take its course. In 2004, Cyclone Heta made a beeline for Niue. As Heta neared Niue, her strength increased and was to become one of the most ferocious storms known to man, a Class 5 hurricane with wind speeds of over 250 kilometers an hour. The capital village, Alofi, was devastated and virtually destroyed, and a nurse sacrificed her life to save a baby. Heta left Niue devastated, and reduced agricultural crops have aided in the long-running population decline. The government of Niue declared a state of emergency, and foreign aid poured in. Total damage was estimated at 85 million New Zealand dollars, 5 times the annual gross domestic product of Niue at 17 million New Zealand dollars. The island has recovered, but the people have not returned. Niue's extraordinary calcite top was created from an undersea volcano and is unlike anywhere else in the world. With tropical cyclones forever plaguing the island, Niue has assumed the many faces and shapes carved by waves and storms. The relatively sheltered Alofi side of the island is somewhat different to the wild southern coast that is attacked by the full force of the prevailing winds. In these more exposed parts, the effect of constant turbulent weather has produced an entirely different landscape from that in the more sheltered coastal areas. These masses of pushed-up coral have been sculpted by the elements, so instead of there being cliffs, there is a slope of 17 to 22 degrees, reaching from sea level to a terrace above. This slope is bare of vegetation and is exceedingly rough, being a so-called KARRENFIELD of crevices, and with a million sharp slabs of razor pinnacles pointing skyward more than 8 meters. Blowholes add beauty to this desolate coastline. This cleft in the coastline is known as the Oasis of Togo. It is a chasm that one can climb down into by the 32-step ladder that leads to a small sandy beach. Once down on the small beach, we were told that there is a coral slab creating a cavern wall and a grove of huge coconut palms that grow in this difficult environment. There is no water on this beach. We were not brave and did not climb down the ladder, as it looked pretty dodgy. It's said that there is a cave which gives nice views to a sea arch with huge waves breaking over it. The Huvalu rainforest is home to some exotic indigenous trees and has been designated as a conservation area to protect the island's primary rainforest, natural fauna and flora. The base of Niue was formed under high temperatures and pressures, so there is a rich mixture of volcanic soil and rotting vegetation. The resulting abundant fertile soil on the island makes it very easy to grow just about any tropical fruit or vegetable. The people eat very healthily. The Talava Caves, locally called the Arches, are a complex rabbit warren of caves located at Niue's northern tip. The caves are a magnificent work of nature, created by the waves constantly crashing over the reef, and water drops falling from the cave's ceilings and arches into pools inside. Once inside the caves, huge columns of stalagmites and stalactites are everywhere. The colours are breathtaking. This cave has 2 exits, with one to the sea, which is dangerous when the waves are unusually big. The other exit is to a semicircular gorge in which there are large arches. The cave's arches tower overhead, and the walls of the gorge have many branching smaller caves off to the sides. According to cave experts, Niue possesses the most spectacular and extensive cave system in the entire South Pacific. Niue's coastline is punctuated with literally hundreds of magnificent caves and chasms. All are unique, and some, where the sea no longer invades, were once used for the storage of canoes, while others have been used as ancient burial places or were once homes in the past. Many caves are still being shaped from the seepage of surface groundwater through into the caves. This very hard water releases its dissolved calcium, creating stalagmites and stalactites which are present in all stages of formation. Cave growths should not be touched, as skin's oil can alter the surface where the mineral water is to cling, thus affecting the growth of the formation. Oils and dirt from human contact can also stain the formation and change its colour permanently. The constant dripping limestone is laid down layer by layer, becoming very hard. When algae are present and there is enough light, such dripstones may assume wonderful palettes of colour. A stalagmite is a columnar formation that rises from the floor of a limestone cave from the constant dripping of mineralized solutions and the deposition of calcium carbonate. Stalactite, derived from the Greek word to drip, is a calcium carbonate formation hanging down from the ceiling of limestone caves. They are all types of dripstones. The stalactite hangs downward like an icicle, while the stalagmite sticks up, ever growing, very slowly, in pairs. The whole island of Niue is dotted with a myriad of caves and sheltered rocky coves, but no view could be more rewarding than here at Talava Caves, where the ocean meets land and where one false step could upset thousands of years of peace and quiet. The Tapa Chasm is the perfect place to relax and study these near vertical rock faces that were formed eons before the Polynesians arrived on this secluded island. We found this chasm to be so captivating that the seagulls overhead went unheard and the scent of frangipani went unnoticed. Whilst watching the water surge in and out of the chasm, a famous Niue legend came to mind, that of Matagani Fali and the turtle. Now, Matagani Fali was well known for her tapa making. Legend has it that she lived at a place called Fetuna in the centre of Niue. Sometimes she would spend her days at the beach, making her tapa from barks she stripped from mulberry sticks. She used a piece of wood to beat and pound the mulberry bark until it became soft and pliable, and she used seawater to wash away the sediment until the tapa was clean and ready. One morning, Matagani Fali was rinsing her tapa in the sea, and a turtle stopped by to admire her work. He complimented her on her good looks and cleverness. On another day, the turtle invited Matagani Fali to go for a ride on his back. She did not hesitate, for she was smitten and she wanted to see beyond the horizon. She packed some coconuts into a basket, and with a girl on the turtle's back, they headed out towards the horizon. When she was thirsty, she drank from her coconuts. When she was hungry, she tried to open her coconut, but could not. The turtle said, "Crack it upon my head," and she did. The Niue people now believe that this is the reason why a turtle's head is so short. I'm not convinced. Niue is separated from New Zealand by the international date line. The time difference between Niue and New Zealand is 23 hours during the winter and 24 hours when the mainland uses daylight savings time. Perhaps it is this time zone that contributes to this unusual creation, located to the south of Alofi at Avatali Beach. Most cruisers visit this corner of Niue during their stay, for tucked away is the Washaway Cafe, really a pub, the only pub or bar in the whole of the South Pacific that serves booze on Sundays and only on Sundays. The rest of the week it's shut. On this weekday there wasn't another soul around and the place was locked up tight, so no cold beers for us today. We relished the tranquility of Avatali Beach, peeked into the bars of the pub and sat for a while on the crudely made benches. The setting was so surreal that we imagined Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble rounding the corner at any moment. We returned to the Washaway Cafe the following Sunday, and it was as busy and jolly as we had hoped. The food and beer were excellent, the views upon the Pacific superb, and we were far enough away from any church so as not to offend the locals. While we tipped a few glasses of beer, we reflected that the Washaway Cafe, the one pub open only on Sunday, is a place that must not be missed. Niue uses two legal currencies, the New Zealand dollar and the Niue dollar. Niue first began issuing coins in 1966, mostly commemorative issues, and still accepted as legal tender within Niue. Niue is setting an example, trying to be the first country in the world to be fully smoke-free by banning tobacco. For a start, in July 2008, Tuapa became the first village in Niue, and possibly the world, to declare itself totally smoke-free in both private and public places. Traditional ceremonies mark a child's coming of age and are of great importance to Niueans. The traditional ceremony is for a teenage girl to have an ear-piercing ceremony, whereas a boy has a hair-cutting ceremony when the long tail of hair that he has kept since childhood is removed. What these kids have pierced or snipped here in Niue is a lot less painful than other places in the world. Niueans are bilingual, speaking both Niuean and English. Niue is a self-governing nation and has encouraged tourism as an important component of its economic development. The people of Niue are as colourful as the fish that live within the coral reef surrounding the island. The old language is spoken by very few, but those that do recall the history of its people as great travellers who migrated across the vast Pacific. Niue's neat and colourful villages are a place where it's normal for complete strangers to wave at each other in passing. There are no shopping malls and no video arcades, and no plans to get either one of them. Niue is the sort of place where the opening of a new cafe makes headlines, and where a change on the menu is talked about for weeks. It is a place where nature hasn't been broken, and things are just the way it was set out to be. Niue is an island where little changes, nothing is new, and this is what makes it so special. It is one of the few places on Earth where life is predictable. At the call of the roosters crowing, a tropical breakfast is plucked from the trees, and the day proceeds tranquilly and relaxed. On this island deep in the South Pacific, one could roam for hours, finding secluded spots to sit and watch the sea as it endlessly crashes against the limestone coast, constantly changing its shape. Niue's ruggedness is captivating because its colourful but coarse beauty is so different from anywhere else. Our last day was spent buying wine and beer from the government guy who also doubles as the customs and immigration officer. We became lifetime members in the Niue Yacht Club, and we revisited the caves. In the late afternoon we sat alone in a sandy cove and swam over the idyllic reef with a colourful tropical fish. On our last evening we watched the sun cast a golden glow over the sea before it slipped westwards over the horizon away from the island of Niue. We didn't want to leave this lovely place, and we stood on the deck of Wintersea looking in wonder at this unusually shaped, vast limestone rock full of interest and mystery. We felt far removed from the rest of the world. Then, with the morning light, we cleared customs, and it was time to leave Niue. We untied from our government mooring and were surprised to see that a herd of humpbacked whales had entered the harbour. They are often found here during the summer months, raising their young. There are adults and babies sturdily swimming around Wintersea, surfacing and diving, as, we liked to think, they bade us farewell and a safe passage. Niue is a place that few tourists have heard of, and even fewer visit, probably due to its remoteness. What an experience it has been to voyage to this most extraordinary island nation, the smallest in the world, that is unspoiled still and unbelievable deep in the South Pacific. Today we were further rewarded as we were joined by a small pod of dolphins as we began our passage for Tonga, 400 miles to the west.